Blew a seal. I swear it's just frost on my mustache. Got a scabby old cylinder. We're in the field here, just gonna try and very quickly ascertain the wire 2s and the wire 4s. Before we get into the meat of her, get on the Gargler, the Jazz Hands routine, and look up hydraulic injection injury. If that ain't enough to put some shuffle in your slippers, I don't know what is. Never, ever look for a hydraulic leak with your prestidigitators, because you will die to regret it. Problem the first, wiper is blown out of her. The wiper just keeps the schmoo out of the internal workings. I don't think that's the main problem, however. Yeah, there we go. We found ourselves a squirter. That might have been cool a few years ago, but turns out it's just piss. I told you I didn't blow a seal. That's technically known as an extruded O-ring. Well, you watch me screw my nut. How you been? I'm on the mend. Not the COVIDius got me down. We put dear sweet buddy, best dog in the whole planet, sent him off to his happy hunting grounds. That was a kick in the nuts. And the truck broke down. No big deal. Had to cull a whole bunch of roosters. And then psychosomatically I woke up and my neck was just fucked. Not from doing anything interesting, just from being. Like I said, never catch old. Fucking shit's terminal. Anyway, wifey's crushed, but starting to look at new puppies now. Not that you can get one, but at least you sort of think about moving on to the next, yeah, I don't know what to... This is a fucking sad thing. Yeah. Yeah. If only there was some device in existence that would clamp things in a vice-like grip. Ah. Yay. Let's just make sure here. I don't see how there could be any pressure in there, but maybe temperature differential. That gland goes in there pretty deep. But enough about baby doll. You ever get that feeling you're in a Looney Tunes cartoon? You just keep screwing until pop goes the weasel. Again with the baby doll jokes. Ugh. Milky deliciousness. Nobody fucking panic. I'll get a receptacle. Well, it was a time when I was willfully uninformed. Well, we all were. Jokingly recycle this right back from whence it came into Mother Earth Gaia. However, now we know better. You put this little spill pad on here in order to cover up the mess. And that's it. What give us all the trouble? Extruded O-ring. It behooves us to remind ourselves that when we're under a hydraulic implement, doing something or it's lifting or whatever, the only thing keeping us from getting crushed like a bug is a thin layer of chintzy nitrile rubber. Now here's the wiper. it's tore up. It's not a hydraulic seal because the lip is towards the outside. The lip is always towards what you want to keep out. In this case, we're keeping out the dust, dirt, and schmoo. Not surprisingly, there's a dearth of wipers in the GAC box in the away mission. However, we got the Loctite 404. Ooh, look at this fucking guy. 404. 20 bucks a tube. Sometimes, partner, you get what you pay for. Ah! They do make a tool for this. It makes it easier, more convenient to align and hold. Trade name of Jill. Ah! No, I think I got enough dirty dick beaters in the mix here.
Oh, you're doing that?
The Duke Law, ladies and germs. He's out of here. Maybe a little big. Yeah, a little big. A little bit too big. And remember, dear viewer, that what you're watching through the proscenium arch, and never mind this, better too big than too little, especially when you're on your last try. We'll just nip off a little bit of that. Be ginger careful when you're rubbing anything against any kind of sharp lip or potentially sharp lip. You only make that mistake once. Have to be a barb on here and it'll cut you open from hell to breakfast. Well, that didn't work. Having trouble get that gland in all the way. Spit on it and everything. I'm gonna have to either make a tool, which I gotta go back to the shop, or just bring it back to the shop. It occurs to me I don't have a bench vise skookum enough for this. I'd have to weld it to the welding bench, and then grind the welds off and so forth. Recall that the ancient erections erected their phallus with copper chisels. Hey, Bomb, buddy. I'd like you to stop the Vigeo right here. Par for the course. Hammer and chisel mechanic meets farm made part. You see why it was leaking in the first. It bottomed out on the treads rather than bottom out metal to metal, face to face. You can see the O-ring is not fully backed up, and that is why it extruded. I ask again, why does everything I own turn to shit? It's a rhetorical question. I had to go back to the shop anyway. Going with, it might work. Definitely not gonna hurt. Tip. Yeah, that ain't gonna do shit. Proper practice would dictate we have this A-part, machine it a little bit deeper, about a blonde one deeper, in order to mitigate that extrusion. However, in practical terms, how long did this thing chooch before she blew? You know, it's got to come apart anyway, so let's just let her buck. Now, you'd never do this if you were fixing this for a client or what. You can see this is fabric-cobbled, homebrew style, because the plate, a rounded over bevel here, cut out of a bigger plate, flame cut, semi-square. This didn't go deep enough, but we get to run the experiment now. How long does that Buna N O-ring last before it extrudes? You wouldn't be able to do this if you were doing it for a client or, you know, fixing it proper. This ain't that. All right, she's installated. I don't hold much hope for this, but that's the agony of, do you do it wrong or do you do it right? When you're working for somebody else, it's easy. You know, you're building a Japanese machine, a German machine, there's no question. You gotta do it right. But the agony comes from constantly testing yourself in the center of town, the egg on, well, testing yourself, pitting yourself against opponents, which is actually just testing yourself. There is no question, I've been thinking about this, there is no question as to whether you do it right or you do it wrong in the traditional Japanese or the traditional lockstep good German sense of the word. But as Norte Americans, there's that agony. You're always debating, oh, do we do it this way? When there's only one path, it's so much fucking easier. And that's why it's so much easier working on somebody else's gear, because there's no question it has to be done right. When you're working for yourself, on your own old crap, key contact. I call that good. Enough for night shift. It is leaking because of the rod being all mantangulated up further up the rod there at the mid-stroke or so. So this really doesn't have, it's not long for this life before it sheds its mortal coil. We'll just run her real gentle like until she gives up the ghost, and then we'll get her back in the shop and JB welder, call it a piece of shit, do a little gaslighting and stick her back on here. Thanks for watching. Keep your dick in a vice, or out of a vice in this case.